Before we get started, please subscribe to this channel. You also can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you're looking to become a member of the DW Pod, you can look for Dr. Williams Podcast on Patreon, where you will find 3 different tiers of membership benefits. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, you can go to my website, www.drwilliamspodcast.com, or you can check out www.nrtrc.org to find a telehealth provider. Look in Sequim, Washington, because that's where I'm located, and you can set up a therapy session with me there. Okay, let's get into this conversation. Do you ever pray? Are you somebody that prays on a regular basis? I feel like a lot of people do engage in prayer, and this is something that people feel like has an impact on their life. This is an action that they take that they believe will bring to them what they want. Now, a lot of people who pray consider themselves to be religious. But the way that I'm talking about prayer is it's just an asking for what you want, or when you're giving appreciation for something you already have. Those are the 2 most common definitions of what a prayer is. And that doesn't mean that you have to be religious in order to pray. It's just something that you're doing in your mind or out loud. It's a dialogue, so to speak. Well, today I want to talk about prayer from a law of attraction standpoint because I came to realize recently that there's some things that I think a lot of people are doing when they pray that actually are working against them getting what they want. And I'm going to get into the details of what that is, and then I'm going to talk about how to turn that around and how to make the most out of your prayer so that you're actually aligning with getting what you want. When you pray for something, that means you want something. And I'm going to offer you some practices, some different ways of approaching your prayer so that you can align with that and actually manifest the things you're asking for, contrary to popular belief. And I realize that by saying this, many of you who follow a religious teaching or a religious lifestyle may just tune out immediately. And if that's the case, no judgment here. You've got to follow your own lead. But from what I understand, we have control over what we are creating in our lives. It's less about what God is giving us and more about what we are offering and then receiving back. But that same source energy that is God is within us. And that's why we are creating our own realities as this God force. And it comes with some practice in order to perfect it. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. So let's get into it. Let's talk about prayer and manifestations. As I mentioned before, a lot of people consider prayer to be a type of talking. And a lot of people look at it like they're talking to God. And there's usually 2 ways of doing that. So that's either when you're asking for something that you want, and a lot of times it's in the form of pleading or begging, or it's in some form of gratitude or thanksgiving or offering some kind of appreciation to this God force, this source energy, which you are acknowledging has this great power over your reality. Well, prayer is also commonly discussed in combination with meditation. And the way that I have come to understand it is that some people view prayer as when you're doing the talking, you're doing the asking, you are in that position of promoting the dialogue. And then when you're in meditation, that's when you do the listening or receiving the answers from that source energy. Now, what I like about that is the distinction between the two. And the reason I like it is because it has a vibrational standpoint. It has a foundational element in vibrational offering, which is something that is happening all the time. When you are praying, that is when you are transmitting. That's when you're offering something, you're putting it out from you. And when you're in meditation, that's when you are receiving. I love that so much because you cannot do them at the same time. And that's how vibration works. You are either aligned with one vibration or another. You cannot be lined up with both at the same time. And that's what's happening in this dialogue that's happening with meditation and prayer. So when you're transmitting, you're doing the praying, you're putting it out there, there's a vibration that comes with that. And then when you're meditating and you're quieting your mind, you're stopping the thoughts, this is when you can receive the answers or you can receive dialogue from that God force or source energy. And that is kind of what I promote. I realize there's a lot of different kind of ways to meditate. And a lot of the people I've worked with on the podcast remind me of this because I align with the Abraham Hicks way of meditation, which focuses on quieting your mind, stopping those thoughts. I look at this as being alignment meditation because what it's doing is raising your vibration by decreasing resistant thought. If you're not thinking, then you're not having any kind of resistance getting in the way of what it is you want to create. And that's why I promote that. But the point is, you can only be one of them at a time. So if you're doing all this praying all the time and you're not meditating, then you're just putting out, and you're not receiving anything back. This really is a balance between the two. I feel like meditation or receiving is simpler. It's more straightforward. It's easier to accomplish a type of purity with that. What's happening is your vibration is rising. And this happens because basically what you're doing is you're aligning with your inner being or your source energy that is you, because you are an extension of source energy. And your source is always at the highest form of vibration possible. So just by stopping your thoughts, you allow yourself to start rising like a balloon up into the sky because there's nothing in the way to hold you back. And that is the importance of alignment meditation. Raising your vibration is the key to getting everything you want. If you do receive thoughts when you're meditating, these are noteworthy. But if it's thoughts about yesterday or things you have to do, that is just your human consciousness, which is always going unless you're purposely stopping it. But if you've been meditating and then all of a sudden you receive a really good idea, something that feels really good, and you're like, whoa, that's a good idea. That is literally a message from God to you. And it is always aligned with what you want. This is how you receive guidance from your inner being. And that is why meditation is so important. Because yes, God does talk to us, but are you hearing it? Do you know how to receive the messages? This is how you do it. And if you're praying, the answers are coming to you, but you have to know how to align with it in order to receive them. Okay, so prayer. Prayer, on the other hand, is much more complicated. And it can be a lot more difficult to successfully achieve what you're wanting out of prayer. But the reason is still the same. It's still vibrationally speaking. So first of all, how do you define prayer? Like I said, most people think this is when you're talking to God or some higher power, but that's really just kind of an umbrella explanation. Usually it's because you're asking for something. You've become aware of something you want, and now you're asking for it, you're pleading for it, and a lot of times you are begging for it. You want it so badly. Or there's that other end where you are offering thanksgiving and gratitude and appreciation. Those are two very different forms of what people consider to be prayer. Well, one of those is working for you, and one of them is working completely against you. Can you guess which one is which? The asking kind of prayer, you can stop doing that completely. Never do it again. That is the one that's working against you. By engaging in this conscious, active asking, you are actually getting in the way. You are contributing resistance onto your path of getting what you want, of getting your prayer answered. Asking is something that happens automatically. You don't even have to be consciously aware of it. In fact, you're usually not aware of it until it has gained some momentum. Life just causes us to ask. As we go through our days, we are sifting, we are sorting, we are choosing what our preferences are, and we are liking this and not liking that. And in either situation, we are gaining clarity about what it is we want, who we want to be, and the life that we are wanting to experience. The way it works is when you know what you don't like or what you don't want, you know you want the opposite. It's very simple. That is the moment the asking happens. It's automatic. I don't like this. Boom. That means I like this. I don't want this. Boom. That means I want this. It's happening immediately. You don't have to be humanly consciously aware of it. This is the design of the universe. And when you understand how it works, that's how you jump in and start creating it deliberately in order to form the life that you want to have and enjoy it, to be satisfied with life. So, you've done the asking. Instantaneously, it has been created. It is yours. It's been given to you. And now it resides in what I've referred to in the past as your vortex. That's your vibrational reality. Because as soon as you ask, Source gives it to you. Source gives you everything you want. And now here it sits in your vortex like funds in a bank. And all you have to do is figure out how to make a withdrawal. So here's something to think about, because a lot of times we do know what we want, or we do know what we like. Well, when that happens, that is a physical manifestation, because the life already occurred, which allowed you to ask for what you want. And now it is sat in your vibrational reality, gaining some momentum. And as other things happened in your life, and you contribute to that momentum of wanting it or liking it, now it is manifesting into a thought. So when you become aware of what you want, enough to go, I really want that. That is a manifestation. That is vibrational energy manifesting into thought. And that is the first step in getting it to come into your physical reality. Did you hear that? That's big. It's huge. It changes everything about being aware of the thought that you are thinking. Because every thought you're thinking is a manifestation, and that means that whatever it is, whether it's negative or it's positive, it has momentum going. And being aware of it tells you where you are in what receiving mode. Are you getting all the good stuff? Are you getting the stuff out of your vortex? Or are you over there aligned with the negative stuff and getting more of that contrast and the lack of what you want? You know it by being aware of your thought. So this seems like really good news. Like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm manifesting things in my life because now I've had this manifested thought. But this is where most of us intervene and mess stuff up. Because now we're aware of what we want and we grab onto it and we're like, okay, now I'm going to pray really hard about this. Or now I'm going to focus all my attention on manifesting this into my physical reality. Because, first of all, we don't realize that the thought we just had is already a manifestation. It's already happening, it's coming in. If you would just leave it alone and continue to allow, it would manifest more. But we don't do that, do we? What we do is we grab onto it and we start praying about it. We start asking for it deliberately, putting a lot of effort into it. And what we're really doing is adding resistance in the way of getting it. We're actually taking 2 steps back because the asking already happened, and now you're aligning with the asking again. Now that you become aware of it, you're like, oh, I better ask for this more openly. Put effort into asking, but that's just taking you backtracking. The asking's been done. It's already been given. All you have to do now is allow it in. So we're asking. We're praying. We're really focused on this idea of wanting it. But the problem is we are so focused on that what we're aligning with is the wanting of it. We're aligning with this feeling of want. Well, that's not going to bring it into our reality, because as you focus on the feeling of wanting, you get more things that contribute to a feeling of wanting. We don't want to be in that state. Being in a state of wanting means you're always desiring something you don't have. You don't actually believe that you have it yet. And the truth is, it's alive right there in your vibrational reality. It's already been given to you. But instead, you're over here focused on the wanting, the asking, the praying. And this was actually a really big thing for me. At first, when I really started getting into the law of attraction and studying it, and it was kind of engulfing my life, and I was finding my spiritual path, I was doing this a lot because I thought if your thoughts are what you get, then I better focus on what I want. And I was spending a lot of energy doing that. I was spending a lot of energy ruminating, thinking about what I wanted and letting it cycle in my mind, projecting it outward in the form of prayer and thought. Because it was my understanding at the time that that's how you manifest things. Now I realize that that is the biggest mistake that I was making. But acknowledging that it already exists and my awareness of it as a thought is showing me that it's already there in my vibrational reality and it's starting to come into my physical reality. That is a better state of mind to be in when you're manifesting things. And I was doing that all wrong. Okay, so let's go back for a minute. I mentioned that there were 2 forms of prayer. When you're asking for something that you want, or when you're in a state of appreciation and appreciating what you already have. Which one of those do you feel like is helping you, is serving you? Well, let's just look at it for a minute. When you're focused on something you want, how does that make you feel? What is the feeling associated with that? Well, usually when you want something, you're aware that you don't have it. So it's that focus on the lack that is driving the desire, the want, but that emotion that you're having in that focus on the lack of it is actually putting you in the receiving mode of not getting it, of getting more things that contribute to that wanting. It's the emotion that really brings it in, that creates it in your reality. It's the thought connected to the emotion. So it's what's known as an activated thought. An activated thought is any thought that has an emotion attached to it. And that is the creative power that you obtain. That is how you are creating your reality. It's happening without any effort at all. So if things are going really well for you, then you're doing this great. You are, instead of focusing on what you want, you are over here appreciating what you have. And you're not focusing on the lack. You're finding the feeling of having everything you want, because that's how you manifest what you want. But if things in your life are not ideal and you're not getting it to be the way you really want it to be all the time, then that means you're more focused on the lack of those things being there. And that is the creative power, which is manifesting the negativity in your life. You are in the receiving mode of something all the time. And the way you know what you're receiving is based on how you feel. But you also can look around and go, okay, this is happening and this is happening, and I don't like it. Which means that you're in the receiving mode of negativity. And you have to shift that in order to start bringing more things into your reality that you do like and that you do want. That applies to prayer. What are you feeling when you are praying? What is the feeling associated with those thoughts that you are transmitting? Most of the time, when we're praying, we want something badly because we don't have it. We're pleading for something. We are begging, please give this to me. That emotion is strong and it has creative power, but it's negative. It's bringing you more things that you don't want in your reality. You're going to be creating more things that give you that same emotional experience, that deep desire for wanting something else. Have you been considering one-on-one sessions with me? Well, if you have, I wanted to let you know that there's actually 2 ways to go about doing that. You can go the therapy route, or you can go the coaching route. I am a licensed mental health counselor here in the state of Washington, and I'm actually registered as a telehealth provider. So this is something that might even be covered with your insurance company. And what you can do is you can go to the Northwest Regional Telehealth Resource Center, or NRTRC for short, and you can find me there in Sequim, Washington, Sequim. So if you're in Washington and you're looking to have therapy with a mental health counselor, you can work with me. And we can do that virtually. That's what telehealth is. It allows us to meet without having to be in person. So what you do is you go to www.nrtrc.org and search for behavioral health in Sequim, Washington. And you'll find Dr. Williams, LLC is there. And that's how you schedule with me for therapy sessions. If you're wanting coaching sessions, you just go to my website, www.drwilliamspodcast.com. Right on the home page, there's a button there that says Work with Dr. Williams, and it'll take you to my scheduling calendar where you can set up a free 15-minute consult so that we can talk about it and see if it feels like it would be a good fit for you. Even if you've done traditional therapy in the past or coaching sessions with someone else and you felt like it wasn't a good fit, I get that. But I encourage you to give me a chance because I do things a little bit differently, and I might be the fit that you've been looking for. So there's really nothing to lose. Set up the consult. We'll just have a chat and see how you feel about it. Okay, let's get back to the episode. So what about the other kind of prayer? What about when you're in thanksgiving and gratitude and appreciation? How does that feel? That is the only form of prayer that I'm promoting. That feels good. That is on the higher end of the emotional guidance scale. That is you vibrating at a higher frequency. That is you appreciating the things in your reality, and that is going to manifest more of those things. So my advice is stop asking for things. When you do become aware of a thought that is in association with something you want, bless that thought and go, wow, cool. All right. That means that is starting to manifest in my reality. You don't have to take a step back and start asking for it. That is old news. That already happened. Now it's manifested into this thought. The next step is, if you are able to allow it, that it will come into your physical reality even more. That thought is confirmation that what you want exists. So that doesn't mean that you can't think about what you want. You can, but you have to do some things before you focus on that if you want to manifest it in a positive direction. The way you do that is by tending to your vibration first. And I'm going to explain more about that in a couple minutes. But first, appreciation prayer. Here's a little test. So we're going to see if you're already doing this in a way that serves you best. So right now, no matter what you're doing, I want you to just take 1 minute and offer some kind of prayer of appreciation or gratitude. You can say it out loud. You can say it in your mind. If you don't want to think about it as a prayer, just think about it as offering some thought, as transmitting some vibrational energy in the form of thought. So basically, I'm just saying focus on appreciation, something specific. On your mark, get set, go. Okay. So that should have been enough time for you to at least find one thing, if not more, that's going on in your life that you are able to appreciate. So what was it? What was your focus of appreciation? Was it something that happened recently? Something that you liked? Is it the weather or your environment? Was it appreciation for a person or people or maybe even an animal? Were you focused on appreciating your health or money, wealth, abundance? Was it conditional in any way? If the answer to that is yes, then you probably will not get what you want. I know, it's tricky. No one said that this was something that comes naturally. The reason that most people are not master manifestors is because that we're not utilizing the practices that really get us what we want. But here's the thing. Focusing on conditions to appreciate is not raising your vibration. It actually might be doing the opposite than you want. It's really not a bad thing to appreciate conditional aspects of your life. That's okay. But vibrationally speaking, you might have something else going on. And if that's the case, then when you make something the focus of your attention, you may not be actually focused on the positive aspect of it. Because if you're vibrationally not feeling good, or if you're offering some kind of vibration based on something that has happened that you didn't like or you didn't want, and it's just under the radar, then when you do focus on something else, you're actually drawing the negativity out of it instead of the positivity. Making sure that you are vibrating at a high frequency is the key to manifesting your desires. You have to focus vibrationally first, then you turn your attention towards something that you want. This is how to create deliberately. So let's get into this in a little bit more detail. Every subject is two subjects. It is what you want, or it is the lack of what you want. So let's just say you were focusing on the weather. Maybe you're driving on your way to work and you're appreciating the sunshine. But a couple minutes ago, somebody cut you off and you had this knee-jerk negative reaction to the way that they behaved. And though you've moved on from that, that vibrational frequency is still active in you. So now when you're focusing on the sunshine, which you are trying to appreciate, you actually have the vibrational creative power of taking the sunshine, covering it with a cloud, and bringing in the rain. That's the manifestation power that you are offering because of your vibrational offering. You're transmitting negativity vibrationally, even though you are trying to be in a state of appreciation. I hope that makes sense because it really is the key to making all of this work. So that's why when you are trying to do this, when you are trying to be in a state of appreciation, choosing something conditional is not the best way to go. It's kind of what we're hardwired to do as human beings. And we have to untrain that, because that form of appreciation, which you are trying to be the state of, is harder to achieve because it is still those two subjects. It's kind of like when you're focused on wanting or manifesting wellness in your life, and you're doing it because you're sick. And obviously, when you're sick, you want to be better. You want to feel better. You want your body to be healthier. But the vibrational frequency you're offering when you're sick is one of being sick. So you cannot just focus on the opposite and achieve it. And that's why I talk about getting your mind off of it, focusing on something else. By focusing on something that has less resistance in it, everything else will line up with that and come to you through your vortex, including wellness. But when you're sick and you're like, oh, I really appreciate when my body feels good. I appreciate being able to breathe out of my nose. I appreciate being able to breathe deeply. I appreciate whatever it might be, which is the opposite of how you're really feeling. You're actually really just staying in that active vibration of unwellness. And this happens with a lot of things. You can be focused on the safety of your kids, but the reason you're focused on that and trying to appreciate it is because they're away from you right now, maybe at a friend's house or at school, and you have some worry. You're actually focused on the worry, even though you think you're focused on their safety. Money is a big one for people. This happens with money all the time. You want more money, but the reason you want more money and you're trying to say things like, oh, I really love the freedom and the fun that money has. I love seeing the numbers in my bank account go up. I love receiving checks in the mail. I love it when people give me money for no reason. Those are all things that you can be saying in order to try to attract money to you by focusing on the things you appreciate about money. But if the stimulus which led you to trying to do that was you receiving a bunch of bills in the mail, it's not going to work. You're focused on the lack of money when you're focusing on thoughts of money. Even though they're geared in a positive direction, the vibrational offering you have that you are transmitting is not aligned with receiving money. It's aligned with not having enough to pay your bills. And it can be hard. It can be hard to know which end of any given topic you have been focused on more, because we're not aware of our thoughts all the time. It's going all the time, but we're not always tuned into it and aware of which direction we are focusing. But let's be honest, the negative stuff gets a lot of airtime. So that's why I think it's best to stay away from the conditional things when you are trying to find a state of appreciation, whether it's in prayer or just because you want to feel better. So here's how you do pray effectively or manifest effectively, because I don't want anyone to think that this is just a religious thing. It's not. Being aware of something you want, that's great. That's clarity. And clarity is always great. But remember, that thought is a manifestation, and it is confirming that what you want exists, and it is starting to be manifested in your physical reality. It's yours. You have it. It's sitting there. And right when that thought came to you, that was you taking a withdrawal. You're receiving some of it. Don't go asking for it again. That is counterproductive. Sit with the knowing that you have it. And it's on its way. It's really close because the thought just manifested. That means the rest of it has some momentum going. It's coming. The other thing that you have to practice, you cannot deliberately manifest what you want just by trying to appreciate it, because the vibrational offering that you have going on may be more focused on the lack of having it. Prayers of appreciation are not working unless you are transmitting at a high vibrational frequency. So, before you go and pray about anything, You have to tend to your vibration first and foremost. Appreciating your conditions is great. It's okay. Just know that you may have other active vibrations going on in you which are working against you. So maybe somebody was rude to you, or you have some aches or pains. Those have emotions attached that are negative. So just appreciating your conditions, not going to be enough. You have to do it a different way. And here is how you do it. First of all, daily meditation. You've got to spend some time, 15 to 20 minutes, stopping your thought to the best of your ability. This will decrease the resistance that your human consciousness is laying on your path. Just 15 to 20 minutes a day. That's all it takes. You can do that. You can find the time for that. Focus on a sound and try not to think. This is important. This is how you align with your source energy. Alignment is what brings you everything you want. Stopping all thoughts means stopping resistance, means raising your vibration. Don't focus on the conditions. Let that stuff go. This is the key. You reach for the feeling of things which are unconditional. There is no resistance when you do this. This will raise your vibration. Things like this. I love the feeling of clarity. I love the feeling of worthiness. I love feeling wisdom. I love feeling inspired. I love feeling passion. I love the feeling of well-being. I love recognizing that I am an extension of source energy. I love the idea of source energy. I love the idea of expansion and evolution. I like that sense of security I get when I think about source energy. I like the concept of source energy being focused on me 100% of the time and working to get me everything that I want. I like the feeling of awareness and positive momentum. I like the flowing of thoughts. I like receiving thoughts. I like receiving thoughts for inspired action. I like that I have access to infinite intelligence. I like the variety. I like the beauty of this time-space reality. I like the power of my ideas and that I'm not alone in that idea. Source energy is right there with me. I'm never alone. I like the idea that I am never alone. I like the connection I have with my inner being. Those kinds of thoughts are not related to anything in your environment. They're unconditional. And that is finding alignment with God, with your source energy, without the presence of resistance. It's pure. It is non-resistant, pure manifesting power. If you can do that, focus on those unconditional things. Feel the way they feel for 16 to 17 seconds. Turn it into another 16 or 17, and then another, as much as you can. Every time you do that, you are raising your vibration. Now, and only now. Choose something to focus on, and now focus on appreciating it. Because now your vibration is higher. You are more aligned with true appreciation. You are aligned with that which you want, and you can reach for the feeling of having it. Actually feel it. Feel the way you will feel when you have what you want. Once you have done that, you've raised your vibration. Now you're focusing on what you want. You're appreciating it. You're feeling it. It's going to come so fast. That is how you successfully pray or manifest through thought for anything you want. The work is always vibrational. It's true that you get whatever you think about, but the attached emotion is the creative power. That's what determines if what comes down the way into your physical reality is that which you want or the lack thereof. One final thought on prayer. There's one prayer that I started thinking about when I was organizing my thoughts that a lot of people pray for, which they don't achieve. They feel like this prayer never gets answered, and it has to do with death. When a loved one dies and you pray to have them back, it seems like at face value, your prayer is not being answered. Now, there's a universal law that you can have, be, and do anything you want. That stands true. But there is not a law of assertion. You don't get to assert something for someone else. That means you can't create something for someone else. And the life of someone else, that's theirs. You don't get to make choices and create for them. So bringing them back into this physical reality falls under that category. You don't get to do that. There is no law of assertion. And so therefore you cannot bring somebody's energy back into their body. The only entity who could do that would be they themselves. But think about this. What you are really wanting is the connection with that individual. You want to be close to them again. You want to be able to talk with them. You want to hear from them. This is something that you can have. Those who are already transitioned into non-physical are never far from us. They're still here with us. And they're very focused on the lives that we are living here in the physical reality. It's just a matter of aligning with their energy, which is now pure, positive source energy. That's what all of us become when we transition back into non-physical. So when you're feeling heartbroken, you're missing them, you can't find them because that's not where they're living. They know different. They know that they're right there with you. And all you would have to do is tune into them. You have to look for them where they are. So when you feel love, happiness, joy, that's when you can seek to find them. Tune into them in those moments, because that is where they reside all the time. All that you desire truly exists right now in your vibrational reality. A few routine practices will have you mastering deliberate creation and tuning into that vibrational reality and getting the satisfaction of experiencing it here in this physical reality. Life is meant to be satisfying. You came here with that intention. You decided to come into this physical body, explore the contrast, which only promotes your expansion, and to enjoy the process through it all. It's all yours to enjoy. You just have to choose to do so. So let your prayers be about that. Appreciating the energy that you truly are and all that comes with that. If you can focus on that state of being, I can't wait to see what you create. I can't wait to see what you bring into this world. Because that is what we all want, and we're all striving to have. There's no need to pray for what you want. You already have it all. All you have to do is allow it in. It's there, it's yours, it's done. Allow it in. If you like being able to watch the podcast, make sure to let me know by subscribing to this channel.